Welcome you guys to a watch party here on a Thursday. We're rolling down to the back end of the week. Hope you guys can feel it. Can you guys feel it? It's Thursday, and people like to say how weeks are moving either slowly or too fast. I don't think anyone's ever said too fast, but fast or too slow. This week kind of seems kind of normal, just like the way it's supposed to be. 5 days of a work week heading into the weekend. Madness all around. Stupid people running our country. I mean, things like that. Scandalous behavior. Glad you guys are all here. Lisa Dotson, I hope things get a little bit better as far as finding the stream. If anybody's having those issues with stream, and just in case you guys maybe off the top of your head, maybe put a notification in your phone. It's noon every day here, just in case YouTube wants to keep me silenced. Everybody always says stuff like that. But just in case you guys haven't been able to find it or having trouble sometimes when you are like, wait, is JR coming on? It's at noon Eastern, 9 o'clock Pacific, and it's 11 o'clock in the middle of the country. And also afterwards, we put all these videos up on the channel as well, too, with, a little bit less of my extensive rambling, but definitely is all the same points being given. Yes, Michigan John, I got 3 J hats. I'm not sure which one I had on the other day. There's one of them I don't really like all that much, so you probably haven't seen the third one. Still, Dexter, bro, I'm going to beat the charges, I promise. No more muting during the show. But do you really want to hear water and ice bouncing around while we got videos playing? No. So, I mean, it's a lose-lose situation. Let's get started. Do you guys remember yesterday? Do you remember yesterday? I was talking about this guy. His handle over on TikTok is it's Razzle Dazzle Mo. He had an ultimatum for Mike Johnson about something about a Grinder account. How he's going to expose everything about him. And then he had some follow-ups. Yesterday was Wednesday when he had his ultimatum. I'm going to run through this really fast because I have to give the final update in case you guys either forgot or don't know where to find his updates about how he's going to expose Mike Johnson. There's maybe some shakiness behind his accusations because nothing came of it all the way up till Wednesday. Let me remind you guys what it is that he said first, just in case you guys didn't see the original. This guy over on TikTok is upset at Mike Johnson over not swearing in Adelita Grijalva, the new congresswoman that's going to sign on to those Epstein file release. And, Mike Johnson's working very hard to make sure that doesn't happen. So he's dragging his feet. This is this guy's original ultimatum.
Hey, here's a message for Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Pay attention, bud. This is for Mike Johnson. If you're not Mike Johnson, you can keep scrolling or you can stay here and listen to what I have to say. Hey, Mike, you have until Wednesday to swear her in. Wednesday. Or I will release your Grindr profile and your IP address. I bring receipts, bitch. You're not going to sit there and actively work against LGBTQ rights and democracy. It is treason. Yeah, I'm calling you out for treason. You have until Wednesday to swear her in and let democracy take its course, or I will release your Grindr profile and your IP address. Connects both to you, Mike. The choice is yours. Do the right thing. Because I'm petty. And I'm not above this bullshit. Go fuck yourself.
The kicker every time I've heard that is the back end. Apparently, he doesn't have to go F himself. He goes on Grindr. Anyways, that was the original those are the original ultimatums. That was the original angry post about Mike Johnson not doing his job. Wednesday was yesterday. Here's Razzle Dazzle for that last update. He had a couple updates where he was afraid, he was worried. He said they were silencing him. All that went down. This was the last update that I've seen.
O'clock Eastern Standard Time. And if you're going to listen to this video, please listen in its entirety. Okay? I would refer to my video yesterday when I told you that I had provided this information to my legal team, and it was then provided to a trusted media outlet. I no longer have this information in my possession. It is in several sources' hands. This media outlet is vetting this information and will report on it. I legally cannot post anything on here now. That is the advice of my attorneys. I am not protected by any type of journalistic law for defamation or anything like that. I cannot release these files on here. I simply can't. The sheer amount of death threats, do something to a person. I'm nervous. I'm very frightened for my life right now. They're coming from everywhere, and they're graphic, and it's a little more than I can handle right now, but I know that's what they want. Okay. As for my fundraiser, if you don't want to donate, don't donate to the fundraiser. I am paying lawyers. No lawyer is taking this pro bono. That's all I can tell you about that. I'm not scamming anyone. This is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. I can't read all comments and answer all messages. But one thing I want to address is people saying that I'm an actor and a comedian. That's true. I'm an actor and a comedian. I do stand-up comedy frequently, and I'm in quite a few TV shows. I've lost my representation. I've lost every job that I had lined up. For safety reasons, obviously, my management and agent can't send me out on auditions right now because it's too hot. I'm still in hiding. I've been watching cameras at my residence, and I don't know how people are finding out where that is. But I'm not in that area. I'm in a different state completely. So I thank you. I know this is not what you were hoping to hear today, but rest assured this information will be out. I haven't stopped shaking in 3 days. I know there are consequences to words. And that's what I'm figuring out with my attorneys right now. This has been a lot. Thank you for the kind words and the messages of encouragement, and to the people who have donated to help me fight. They will try to silence you as they've tried to silence me. They will come for you. I found that out. Be safe out there.
Well, it doesn't seem that they tried to silence old Razzle Dazzle. It seems that they've silenced Razzle Dazzle. But let's get to the main purpose of all this whole thing, because I saw some of the debates and the topics and the talks that was happening on yesterday's video. In case you didn't see the full video of how this whole thing got set up, it's over on the watch list channel. You can find it. It's pretty easy. It's one of the last few that was just posted. But still, the debate back and forth and the talking was about, is this guy for real? Because now we've gone from, I think it was Sunday or Monday when he started this, all the way up through yesterday, and we still have none of the information. And each one of the steps of the updates was a little bit more fear, the next level of more pain and aggression, and now he's fearing for his life. The only way to make sure that this is real is for it to happen. And right now it's not happening. So right now it's not real. That's all we can say. I mean, it's you know, it's just what it is. It's the reality. And he brought up the fact that he's an actor and comedian, does a lot of stand-up, isn't able to get that much work anymore because of these death threats. He's been shaking for 3 days. He's no longer as aggressive as he was at first because he's getting these death threats. He's scared. He's gone into hiding. People are looking for him. He's checking his Ring cameras or something around his normal residence, and he's making sure that he's laying low. There's so much here that would lead this to look like it's completely fake, which I see all that. And there's plenty here that would lead this to look like it's somewhat real. But the thing about reality is if it's released by whatever news outlets that he said he's given this information to, they'll release it if they claim that it's valid. Or, silencing will happen there too. Whichever way it goes, I'm in the business now of less talk and more results. I've been saying it when politicians, sometimes even some Republicans, have been like, this is a little bit off. I disagree with that aspect of what's going on here, but then they stop there. Where's the actionable step that's next? Not that this guy has a particular responsibility. He's not some elected official. He doesn't represent other people. But if you come forward and make a declarative statement like that, I mean, it either happens or it doesn't happen. Whatever. That would just be a side note to Mike Johnson's story, because believe me, there's too many other things about Mike Johnson that make him worthy of being booted out of government, for him to be prosecuted for lying and covering up all these things that he covers up. So, I mean, that's just normalcy. We don't need this one. This would just been a nice, an exposure of more of the hypocrisy really is who he is after all the Moses and I'm a super Christian talk. But at this point, razzle dazzle, I guess you'll let this whole thing blow over and come back out of hiding. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. That was the update. Let's get to some more news. I feel like, the credibility level for him has gone to like negative side. If it was bouncing in the 50% level, it's gone negative. Sorry, Raz. Sorry, brother. I mean, there's retribution if it pops up. Everybody's back to celebrating, but right now, no. All right, let's go into this. Maybe you guys saw this. It was going down yesterday. Maybe if you live in Tennessee, specifically, maybe even the Memphis area, you would have been alarmed to hear how Donald Trump's Joseph Goebbels there, Stephen Miller, started railing on the city of Memphis as if he's some kind of tough guy. Here, in case you missed it, here he is.
To the Memphis Police Department, to the officers that I see sitting in front of me, we are about to provide you with a level of support you cannot even imagine. This isn't just a task force. This is a all of government unlimited support operation. ATF, DEA, FBI, ICE, Department of War, every resource we have. And they're not going to be sitting behind a desk at a keyboard. We are sending in real cops with guns and badges to go out with you on the street every single night making arrests. These are people who have taken down drug cartels, kingpins, the worst criminal offenders in the United States, standing with you shoulder to shoulder to shoulder. All we ask from you is to show up at roll call every single night with your brothers and sisters in the federal government and to go out and get the criminals off the street. And if you do that, I pledge to you, we will liberate this city from the criminal element that has plagued it for generations. This is not just a strategy shift. This is an attitude shift. We are not going to live in an environment anywhere where there is a street that belongs to a criminal, where there is a neighborhood that belongs to a gang, where there is any physical space anywhere that belongs to anyone other than the law-abiding citizens and families of Memphis. The idea that there is a square inch of block in this city where a citizen doesn't feel safe is unacceptable. This is Memphis. This is the United States of America, and all that bullshit is done. It's over. It's finished.
Stephen Miller is a little bitch. Stephen Miller's the kind of guy that would start fights and then get his ass whooped and then complain about how somebody kicked his ass. No, Stephen Miller's also the type of guy who would get his friends into fights. Then if they happen to win, he's standing around like, who else wants some? That's the kind of little bitch Stephen Miller is. He's the kind of guy who thinks he's superior. That's why he always talks about white supremacy and shit all the time. And then afterwards, he goes home and sleeps tonight and he cuddles up in his bed and he wishes he was somebody else and not stuck in that slimy sack-like of a body that he's got with his stupid fucking head. That's the kind of person Stephen Miller is. So now that Stephen Miller has been given some kind of power and backup to his white supremacist bullshit that he always talks about, he's going to go in and talk about how great and strong he is. You know, we're going to unleash the cops. How about somebody unleash your sorry ass and see if you can stand up, you sorry sumbitch. That's who Stephen Miller is. But he wasn't even done because he's targeting certain people that he really doesn't like because he's a tough guy. Here's more.
This is the United States of America, and all that bullshit is done. It's over. It's finished. You know, the gangbangers that you deal with, they think that they're ruthless. They have no idea how ruthless we are. They think they're tough. They have no idea how tough we are. They think that they're hardcore. We are so much more hardcore than they are. And we have the entire weight of the United States government behind us. What do they have? They have nothing behind them. So we are going to win. They are going to lose. We are going to rescue Memphis. This is the United States of America, and all that bullshit is done. It's over. It's finished.
These gangbangers, you think you're tough? What a little baby. You guys think you're tough? This guy's in a constant competition to somehow prove he's not the little person that he is, that he's not this little weakling that's always been afraid of life. Every time someone that has a skin tone that's one shade darker than him, he cowers and he jumps and he's afraid that somebody's going to kick his ass. So, would you gangbangers? We're tougher than you. We're more brutal than you. You think you're hardcore? Nobody says hardcore, you sap. He said it very openly right there. We've got the military behind us. He's exposing exactly what I was talking about. He's the guy who starts fights, hides behind his buddies, in this case, his hired buddies, and says, you guys go get him. And he holds onto their shoulders and does this. Go get him. Go get him. Who listens to this whiny ass and goes, yeah, that's a leader. That's a guy that I want to be behind. That's someone who's forceful and strong. Listen to his voice again. There's only 10 more seconds of him talking about what it is he wants to do to Memphis.
I see the guns and badges in this room. You are unleashed. The handcuffs that you're carrying, they're not on you anymore. They're on the criminals. And whatever you need to get it done, we're going to get it done.
All that same talk that Donald Trump was saying during the campaign. We're unleashing cops on you. No more handcuffs on you. As if cops haven't been fucking people up in the streets, which was the reason why there was that summer of 2020 protests over Black Lives Matter, because they've been doing this systematically since they become cops. So please stop with the reconstruction of history and actually our current state of affairs in this country. Oh man, police are such victims. Oh man, they're always getting treated the wrong way, man. They're not fucking anybody up. They're just walking through the streets handing out flowers and people are running up and just kicking them in the nuts. It's so bad. I can't believe the cops have to keep putting up with all these savage minorities. So we've got people like Stephen Miller and Donald Trump who like to say things like that. And they get their racists riled up and they said, come join us in this fight. We got your back. We'll strip all kinds of responsibility from anything that you do because we want you to go and start cracking skulls in the name of white supremacy. And the second half of the annoying nature of these exchanges is when someone like Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, gets asked about it. I want you to hear the difference between the way Stephen Miller was out there just squawking over and over again about how badass he is, and the response from Karen Bass. Everybody's not the same type of person. It's okay. I'm not here to super criticize Karen Bass. I just want you to see the difference in the energies from someone who's literally an anti-American Nazi versus someone who's looking to support and represent the people, the kinds of people that Stephen Miller wants to target.
Well, let me just register that this is such a tragic moment in our history. And the experiment that started here has now gone to other cities and is now being generalized. I believe that they have been dosing the American people so that this becomes normalized behavior. The statements that were made to the military yesterday, acknowledging that we are going to experiment with our cities and use our cities as training grounds for warfare. So what that is saying is that the President of the United States wants to turn the U.S. military against the American people, and to tell law enforcement that they are now unleashed and they can use their guns is essentially saying, go in primarily inner city communities and shoot people. So after years of trying to work on police reform, and that was an issue that I worked on when I was a member of Congress, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, to improve police and community relations, Stephen Miller just said, let's antagonize it, because clearly this is only going to happen in certain communities. And this is just a tragic moment, and it's a real challenge to our democracy in such a profoundly negative way.
It's a tragic moment. And it's such a challenge to our democracy. It's so profound. That's why I worked so hard to try and do things differently. It's okay to cite what it is you work differently and hard to try and do. But now it's a tragic moment. It's horrific what they're trying to do to our country. Now that Stephen Miller is out saying, all those same things that Donald Trump said he was going to do during the campaign. Why then are we having to be so tight-lipped and mealy-mouthed about what it is that these guys were doing? I mean, you guys are overreacting. So now that the overreacting that they called is now actual reality, like people said it would be, I think it's about time for those overreactors to get even louder. This is what was happening during the campaign. And see if it sounds anything like what Stephen Miller is talking about now.
The local police are great. They're just not allowed to do their job. They're afraid of losing their pension. They're afraid of losing their wife or husband. They're going to lose their house. They're losing everything. And one of the things I'm doing is giving local police immunity from prosecution. They get prosecuted. When they do their job, they get like your soldiers.
His soldiers and the police get prosecuted for doing things wrong. Don't forget, just yesterday, 2 days ago or so, Pete Hegseth was standing in front of a bunch of military leaders and said, we're taking off all those stupid rules of engagement. We don't need all that stuff. That wasn't the only thing. This is not currently what Donald Trump is saying. He said this during the campaign. And now think about what it is that's happening literally right now.
We're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to bring them back like they used to be. We're going to make them safe places again. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution. So they're not prosecuted for doing their job. We'll take over the horribly run capital of our country, Washington, D.C., and clean up, renovate, and rebuild our capital city so that it's no longer a nightmare of murder and crime.
He's going to go take over D.C. and clean it up. Weird how he now has military in D.C. and is now spreading it to Memphis, Los Angeles, wants to go to New York, Chicago, New Orleans. It's almost like everyone that said this guy was an ultimate fascist was right. So everyone else who said he wasn't, or said it's too mean, you're going to lose the election if you call this guy out for what he is, not because you're just making it up, but because he's telling you. I believe in fascism. Here's another example, in case, to really drive the point home.
Into beacons of hope, safety, and beauty better than they have ever been before. Right now, they're killing fields, our cities. We're going to give back our law enforcement. We're going to give them back the respect that they deserve. They are being treated so badly. If they do something that's harsh to stop a crime, they end up losing their pension. They end up losing their job. They end up losing their family and their home. And I'm giving immunity to police all over the country for that. I mean, we have some police forces where they make you go out and get a lawyer to defend yourself. They won't defend you. You have to hire your own lawyer. Now, I know more about lawyers than any.
Then he goes on to other crap about he knows whatever about lawyers. He's when a police officer does something a little harsh, like kill your kid, that little harsh thing like murder someone, or put them in the hospital, or shoot them in the chest for sitting in their car. Those little harsh things that police officers may do from time to time. As soon as they do that, their whole lives are destroyed. Can you believe they murdered someone and their whole lives are destroyed? Can you believe that someone's kid no longer has their father anymore? It's odd. Isn't it weird? It's such a little thing. Because, when you minimize someone's life, specifically groups of people's lives, and call them all savages and inferior human beings, you might have this mindset and policy that then says, let's destroy them. They're insignificant human beings, until those insignificant human beings start fighting back, which they know those folks will do. But I want to touch back on that whole idea of not calling a fascist a fascist. Because, that guy who started whining and bitching and complaining at the beginning of this whole piece here, he definitely likes calling people, fascists. This call to activism page put together these, I'd say, 15 different examples of this guy, Stephen Miller, calling folks fascists. They're Democrats. I'm only reading a couple. The Democrats appointed communist judges in a handful of America's most liberal cities. Those unelected communist judges are now trying to rule over us all and invalidate the 2024 electoral landslide. He's saying this now, but you can't call these guys names. Here's the next one. The Democratic Party is now a fascist party, using corporate and government power to punish dissent and dissenters. Weird how he's taking this same Nazi playbook of promoting and announcing exactly what it is that they're doing, and then heaping that on their enemies, because they're the bloodthirsty fascists. I can't believe they called me a fascist. That's why people get shot, because you guys call us what we are, right after we then promote more violence. This is the third one I'm gonna read. The Democratic Party is now a fascist party. This is a different post. Using oh no, so that's sorry, here's the same one. If the key to achieving your agenda is silencing your critics, censoring your opponents, and blaming all dissenters from banishing all dissenters from the public discourse, then your ideas are wrong and you are a fascist. Is it clear yet? So all that whining from Stephen Miller at the beginning about how he's coming to these cities, why would you believe that he has anything to say that makes any sense or is based in any reality, if it's obvious that as they're bitching and complaining about someone calling them a fascist as they do fascist shit? Then I think it's pretty clear that they're just doing this to pull the wool over the last 5 people's eyes that don't see it, because all the rest of their supporters are like, yes, fascism. Don't call us that, or else we won't be able to keep operating in plain sight of all this fascism. So don't call us that. Here, help us out here, you guys. You can oppose us, but don't oppose us. I want some more flashbacks, but first I want to show you guys what it is that this former Illinois National Guard Major General Inyard said in response to some of these things that are being said by this administration. I guess no one can deny it anymore.
Control. The president would be the commander in chief, but it would be Congress that would fund the military. It would be Congress that could declare war. And the entire concern that the founding fathers at that time had, and I mean, the delegates, it was debated, the Bill of Rights actually came about, the Second and Third Amendment, it was all connected to this. And the concern that they had was the ability for the military to be used as this tool of one person. And today, from what I heard from Secretary Hegseth and what I heard from the president, I feel like we are very far afield from where the founding fathers of this country wanted us to be.
Well, I think you're absolutely right about that. The words that Donald Trump used today, enemy from within, I mean, that's Hitler-esque. That is right out of Nazi Germany. That is not constitutional speech. That is not the speech that we stand for in this country, where we believe in the rule of law. And the way that he talks about cities, that cities are full of his enemies. Why? Because they voted for Democrats. They voted blue. And so they have become his enemies. And that he wants to use the military in our cities. The military is designed, and our mission is to, excuse me for saying after 36 years, I think you're
entitled to own it.
But, after the military is to protect our nation. The military is not to police our nation. And his misuse of the military breaches the very trust that the military has in our civilian leadership. And as for Secretary of Defense Hegseth, the problem he has is that he is completely incompetent. The military and the men and women who were present in that auditorium, whether they were the senior enlisted advisors, 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, we value competency. That's what we value. He has not earned his spurs. He has zero experience. He's got great hair. I wish I had his hair. Okay, and I'm sure, Michael, you do too.
Oh, yeah.
But
There are days.
But
I mean, the president made a joke looking out at the generals and said, wow, y'all look.
Sometimes the truth gets told a little bit too late. I don't know where that guy's stance was before on the obvious fascism that this administration is now installing into the country. But so is everybody gonna jump on his back now? If you believe Stephen Miller, not anyone talking here because I think it's seeing here because I think it's pretty clear, but anyone who believes Stephen Miller, if they glance at his posts about what fascism is and then look up and see them doing those things, won't they then have to say, wait, light bulb moment? There's the fascism coming from the guy who's talking about everyone else is a fascist. Here's the flashback time. I always want to play this video. I always want to. But I was like, you know what? I think I need to save it sometimes for those moments since we played it during the campaign, during the last, I think, month or so of the campaign, when it was blown off as if it meant nothing.
What do you think? Do you think he's a fascist?
Well, I'm looking at the definition of fascism. It's a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy. So certainly, in my experience, those are the kind of things that he thinks would work better in terms of running America. Again, back to this issue of, democracy is complicated, messy to operate, probably the worst kind of government there is, except for all the other ones. I think Churchill once said that. And again, our Constitution, our founders built in to the Constitution and to the way our government operates, built in a lot of checks and balances, and didn't design the government to be streamlined and whatnot. So, but certainly the former president is in the far right area. He's certainly an authoritarian. Admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
Even though it took him a long time to get fully around to it, General John Kelly, former chief of staff for Donald Trump, worked right next to him, helped craft policy and approaches that they would take, called him a fascist. That's not new. That was during the campaign. Kamala Harris pointed it out, and they were like, how dare you, Kamala? How dare you say so? And again, what she didn't say was, John Kelly said so. I think maybe she said that once or twice. She goes, don't even worry about what I'm saying. Listen to his chief of staff, and you tell me why he's not. You tell me why you hate John Kelly, that Republican general. The worst part is, that's not the only thing John Kelly said about him.
He commented more than once that, that Hitler did some good things too. And of course, if you know history, again, I think he's lacking in that. But if you know what Hitler was all about, it'd be pretty hard to make an argument that he did anything good.
So what would you say when he said to you that Hitler did a lot of good things?
Well, I tell him that. I said, sir, if you first of all, you should never say that. But if you knew what Hitler was all about from the beginning to the end, everything he did was in support of his racist, fascist life, philosophy, so that nothing he did you could argue was good. It was certainly not done for the right reason. And but he would occasionally say that.
What would he say when you would lay that out to him?
He'd just, that'd be the end of the conversation usually.
Yeah. He loved Hitler. He praised him, said he did a lot of good things. See, those types of things used to be taken seriously. That is until, our this country's original basis for its existence of enslaving people in order to get any kind of prosperity had to be based in lowering other people. This is not the first bout of like authoritarianism in this country. It's just authoritarianism was practiced on certain people at different times, indigenous folks, Chinese folks, Italians, black folks. There's authoritarianism all the time. There's all kinds of systemic racism and kinds of things that keep people from having a real foothold in society and living to that American dream that they say makes our country so glorious. But every time now that they're getting pressed with some pushback about how they have no belief system in that, they're getting violent, they're getting authoritarian for over everybody now. I mean, you can be on the good side as long as you kiss our ass and run with the fascism with us. But if you're against fascism, as Donald Trump said, people that are against fascism are now terrorists in the United States of America. And the bottom line is taking your money, your rights, and your life, which leads me to our last story. Mike Johnson's finally getting challenged a little bit on his rhetoric, along with a couple other Republicans, specifically their rhetoric on how they're taking people's Medicare, healthcare, and also with this now government shutdown that's happening, the battle over whose fault it is and the debate over what it is the Democrats want. He went on Good Morning America and was talking to George Stephanopoulos. And it was a little bit of a different energy, and I was happy to see it.
The Democratic proposal is designed to prevent millions of Americans from losing their health insurance, losing Medicaid coverage, or paying higher health care premiums. Why are you against that?
That's an absurd statement, what you said there. Let's be clear about what happened last night, George. No, George, let me tell you what happened last night. Everybody can go and review the facts for themselves. 44 Senate Democrats voted to reject a clean, nonpartisan continuing funding resolution to keep the United States government open. The Democrats said instead that they wanted to give health care to illegal aliens instead of keeping critical services provided for the American citizens. That's what happened, plain and simple. Every Democrat in the House, except one, voted against the clean continuing resolution. It was nonpartisan in nature. There are no policy riders on it that Republicans favored. It's exactly what Chuck Schumer and other Democrats voted for in March, but they've changed their tune. They changed their tune because Chuck Schumer is having political problems right now. That's just a simple fact, and everybody knows it. He's trying to outrun the far left portion of his base, so he's decided to inflict pain on the American people.
Here are
That's
facts.
the reality of what we're facing.
Here are the facts. The proposal does not provide health care for illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants cannot buy health care under the Affordable Care Act. They cannot receive health care subsidies. Illegal immigrants are ineligible for Medicare, Medicaid, and the Children's Health Program. The Democratic bill does not make them eligible.
Isn't it weird? Why did it take this long for journalists like George Stephanopoulos to finally go, stop, Mike, you're lying? That's not the truth. So when he says, you're lying, George, you have to stop him right there and say, that's actually a statement of fact. It's a factual statement. I remember when Trump started running in 2015, and I was like, how come people don't stop him and say, that's not true? That's just not true. When are you going to answer the question? In fact, when are you going to stop lying? It took till right now for journalists that are on major networks to stop being afraid of saying, stop lying. I mean, they just started saying the word lie like last year. During this guy's whole first terms, definitely when he ran in 2016, they were like, well, we can't say lie. I mean, falsehood, twisting of the truth, bending of reality. They would never say the word lies if lie is such a harsh word. So Mike Johnson also went on CNN. He's talking to Dana Bash. Is there like a memo that's gone out where they told him to stop taking his shit?
Mentioned $1.5 trillion. $1 trillion of that is to reverse Medicaid cuts that you put in the big, beautiful bill.
Medicaid reforms, not cuts.
Well,
now don't take my word for it.
It's less spending.
Don't
You
take
can
my
call
word
it what
for
you
it.
want.
The CBO, Congressional Budget Office, which everybody cites and CNN does all the time as the neutral arbiter of all these things, they came out with a report on August 25th, just several weeks back. And they said, you know what happened in that big, beautiful bill? This is what we project. It's going to save Medicaid. It's going to strengthen Medicaid. Why? Because they CBO, not Republicans, CBO said 2.3 million improper enrollments are involved in Medicaid right now. What is that? Illegal aliens, young able-bodied men without dependents who are riding the wagon and should be working instead. Our legislation strengthens Medicaid because we kick those people off. They were not entitled. Medicaid is intended for U.S. citizens who are young, pregnant women, disabled, or elderly, not these other categories.
But once this goes into effect, which is after the midterms, people will feel cuts who are not necessarily.
Yeah, those young able-bodied men who are sitting at home playing video games. No, that's a big portion of it.
Not just them.
Look at the studies. Look at the studies.
He said that in both of those instances. Look at the studies, look at the facts, look later, look at the information. Where, Mike? Just listen to him and then make him finish answering the question. Those are off ramps from his bad argument that he's losing. Just go look at the facts. Go look at it. It's what you're saying is totally not true. He says it so smoothly because he's evil. I'm Jesus. I'm Moses. But everything he says is so based in his like Donald Trump's reality that as soon as someone challenges on him, he just goes off to say, well, maybe they can read the facts. By the way, he mentioned the CBO, and he mentioned how CNN and others like to cite the CBO, and he cited the CBO, the same CBO that during this budget debate before they passed their shit bill, where he said the CBO is invalid in the way that they've analyzed and broken down this bill. Why won't someone bring that back up to him? You're like, Mike, you're throwing the CBO at me. So why is it that you're now in favor of the CBO when previously you said that you were against the CBO, which while at the same time right now you just said that we use it as if it shouldn't be used? Which one is it, you fucking liar? But the young able-bodied men playing video games, you know, those weird, stupid characterizations that they like to throw at people to make them hate this unknown person that they've never seen before, those are the people that are destroying Medicare, not the people that are taking all of our money and giving it to oligarchs. Caroline Levitt got cornered too. This usually she has her talking points written down because they know what's going to come at them, but this time she just kind of got cornered and cowered and moved on. Watch.
Caroline, we've been talking about the Affordable Care Act, enhanced premium tax credits, and sort of the politics of it all, right? But this is a very real, tangible impact that American people will feel. The Kaiser Family Foundation says that with the ACA enhanced premium tax credits, without them, premiums will go up 114% on average. 19 million of the 24 million people who rely on the coverage are in states that President Trump won. Is he concerned what will happen to those families if this tax credit expires? And aside from the shutdown, is there a plan to keep those premiums down?
Look, as the vice president just said, we are more than happy to have this conversation. The president and the vice president and this team are more than happy to have that conversation with Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill. But it cannot happen right now. Right now, we need to reopen the United States federal government.
Are you willing to have that conversation, or have you been cornered on your lies? We can't talk about this right now because I have been given my talking points on how I can exactly lie about this. So let's have it afterwards. That's been their proposal as far as reopening this government, is give us everything we want and we promise, because we've never lied before, that after you give us everything we want, we'll negotiate all those things that we just said we have to have. It doesn't make any sense. It makes absolutely no sense. As a matter of fact, even them talking about how they wanted to how Democrats wanted to shut down the government and they didn't, every once in a while, I'd say like 5 to 6 times, Mike Johnson, as well as Donald Trump, all keep admitting this is exactly what they wanted.
President Trump has said, he could use this as an opportunity to further cut government and turn some of those temporary furloughs into permanent job cuts. Speaker, can you assess what you're expecting in terms of the job cuts and how severe they could be?
Yes, the president and I have talked about this at great length. While a shutdown is very damaging for real American people who depend upon government services, it can provide an opportunity to downsize the scope and the scale of government, which is something that we've all always wanted to do. And so in a way, Chuck Schumer has now handed the keys to the kingdom to the executive branch under President Trump to do some things that we would not otherwise be able to do because we would never get Democrat votes for them. Now, Russ Vought is in charge, as you know, of the Office of Management and Budget, and it is his responsibility to look at all of this and make very difficult choices. He gets to decide now what services are essential, what programs and policies should be continued, and which would not be a priority for taxpayers.
Weird, huh? Suddenly, there's been a long conversations. He's talked extensively with Donald Trump about how they want to shut down more things. I thought Elon Musk already came in and cut and slashed and cut through fraud, waste, and abuse of all these agencies and people's jobs, but they want to minimize it even more. Why would that be? And also, why aren't they so upset about the government shutting down, but also all on board? While at the same time, before it even shut down, Donald Trump said, I'm not going to negotiate with anybody. Middle fingers for you guys, so that we can make sure this happens, because he thinks that he's in this winning position to then say things like, we're going to cut more people's jobs. That very unpopular thing that they did. This is a party that's running roughshod. They don't care about popularity. Look at their approval ratings. They don't care about people voting for them. They don't plan on having any more of those. That's why the aggression and violence is now ramping up in more cities. This is to make more chaos, actual physical conflict with your citizens, so that when they fight back, you go, we can't have these elections anymore. So they don't have to worry about the horrible things that they say, or the distancing things that they talk about, how disconnected they are from the rest of American people. They don't have to worry about that anymore. They're going to attack you. Donald Trump said this. I have a meeting today with Russ Vought, he of Project 2025 fame. Let me show it to you. Just in case you don't think I'm making this up. He said, I have a meeting today with Russ Vought. He of Project, he put this in capitals, Project 2025 fame, to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut. And whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people. So maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. Do you remember during the campaign when someone brought up Project 2025 and how Russ Vought and how all these guys from the Heritage Foundation handpicked J.D. Vance to be his vice president, and how they had this whole plan, detailed plan to turn this country to a fascist state? And he goes, never heard of it. I don't know. Project 20. What would that mean? What does project mean? Why is 2025? What is that? He was clueless to the entire process, but now he's promoting it. Of Project 2025 fame. He's tossing middle fingers at the country, and he doesn't care how you react, because if you react badly, he's already got guns pointed at your face. Speaking of which, here's Mike Johnson trying to cover for that.
The president also said at the Pentagon yesterday that he wants American cities to be used as training grounds for the American military. Is this the highest and best use of the U.S. military, and is this the right way to train them?
I don't serve in the Pentagon. I run the House of Representatives. And what we need to be talking about today is real harm that the American people are going to feel because of what Chuck Schumer is doing. Let me tell you what's going to be.
Well, hold on a second.
Today.
As Speaker of the
Women,
House, do you
infants, and children are not
answer
going
the
to have
question?
nutrition
As
programs
Speaker of the
provided.
House, do you believe it's appropriate to use American cities as training grounds for the U.S. military, calling those people in the American cities the enemy within. I'm asking you, as Speaker of the House, do you think that's appropriate?
I'm not going to comment on your characterization of what the president said. I
Those
didn't
are-
get
those
to
are
see that
quotes, they're
speech
not
because
a
I was a little busy
characterization.
yesterday. Well, you can take his quotes out of context, which you often do, and I don't think that's fair to the president. I'll tell you what he's done, though. He's put National Guard troops here in D.C. and cleaned up the crime problem. People can walk safely to and from work today because the president takes crime seriously. Some of the big mayors in some of these big blue cities are not, and I think that's probably what he was addressing there.
Just a little bit of pushback, and the guy has to flow right through to his next lie. Which one is it, bro? Is it that he characterized Trump incorrectly, or that he then, took his words out of context? Which one is it? Because he keeps shifting his argument as soon as someone finally blows it up. More factually based questions and no more desire to let them just steamroll it, change the subject, which he tried to do immediately to then talk about this. I want to talk about this government shutdown, which leads to the back end of this. Mike Johnson wanted to talk about the government shutdown, and he wanted to talk about how bad it is for services. Think about the irony in that.
But what we need to talk about right now, speaking of troops, is that they won't be paid right now because the Democrats are playing political games. FEMA is not going to be provided. FEMA services will not be provided that the government is now shut down. If you have flood insurance that you need to renew before the hurricanes come on, you can't do that right now. We have people, critical medical services for veterans and their families. I mean, suicide prevention programs. These are really serious issues that are being caused by the government shutdown. And we need the Democrats to put the politics aside and keep the engines running here. That's critically important for the American people. And it's stunning to me that they're willing to play games like this when they themselves have said, go watch the tape, throughout their entire careers, that this should never be done.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Nothing I said about the president was out of context. Those were direct quotes from the president. But thank you for your time.
Cherry picked out of a long
Let's turn now to
speech.
House.
Cherry picked. How about this lying asshole? He's talking about FEMA, medical services for veterans, suicide prevention issues, housing support. You mean all those things that they were bragging about from the very beginning of this administration coming in? How Donald Trump said he's going to hold on to FEMA services and how he's going to only dole it out to certain people who kiss his ass. How he put a new head of FEMA in, and he had this barking a diatribe about how everything is under his power and he gets to do whatever he wants with it. And how people died because in hurricane ravaged areas and flooding went down and they didn't give a damn about it. Are you talking about cutting those funds like he did? Or maybe how he said medical services for veterans, how they've fired veterans from those services, how they've cut down their medical care, all the things they've done to veterans. And the worst part was the suicide prevention hotlines. You mean that suicide prevention hotline that they cut down and made sure that any trans folks, kids, that were maybe calling in and needed some support, how they eliminated that? Don't listen to these liars. They don't care. Like straight-faced liars. They promoted how they cut all these things. Now it's the Democrats' fault for shutting down the government. Now all these services aren't going to be fulfilled. You mean the services that you already cut? They think you're that stupid. God, it's off the charts. There's reasons why people get so upset about this, because too many people don't pay attention to what it is that he's saying right in front of you. Here's a candid moment, though. Mike Johnson was confronted by Representative Madeleine Dean. She's apparently a Democrat from the way he talks to her. And she confronted him about his ass kissing and carrying the water of Donald Trump on all these things that he keeps saying. Watch his response.
President is unhinged. He is unwell. What are you doing?
Folks on your side are too. I don't control.
Oh my God, please. That performance in front of the generals, that
I didn't see it.
is so dangerous. You know I serve on foreign affairs and appropriations. This is a collision of those two things. Our allies are looking elsewhere. Our enemies are laughing.
I just left
You
the
have a
speaker's
president
side.
who is unwell.
He rolls his eyes, looks away, and doesn't care. He goes, well, you guys got people that are crazy too. Is that an acknowledgement that your boy is crazy? That your boy is running through the government and destroying things? Well, you guys got bad guys too. So therefore, you're protecting the president who's a bad guy. What does that make you, Moses? if he ever faces the accountability that he deserves to face, it's not going to be good for him. He's going to try and spin and put it on someone else. I was just following the orders of the president. Bro, you were the mouthpiece of the president. Every time he couldn't say the right thing, you quietly went forward and said, I'm a super Christian. I've got his back. Trump even said that. He goes, I'm not a very good guy. I'm not a very good Christian, but Mike Johnson is. He's my guy. I'll let him speak on this. He's said that openly. There's not one thing these guys have not admitted to. But they're really good at lying. This has been one of their other excuses. I want to point out to you guys all the angles they've come with this government shutdown. The majority of people in this country are seeing this government shutdown thing happen. They're affected by it, or they're not affected by it at this point, at least. And then their opinions and thoughts come from the types of things that these guys blitzkrieg and say from the beginning of it. So far, we've seen them lying about how all these government services that they want to, they've already cut are going to be cut, and it's the Democrats' fault. They've also been lying about the healthcare debate over what is the Democrats are trying to save from their dismantling of our healthcare system and stealing it from normal Americans, blaming undocumented immigrants, I'm sorry, illegal aliens, as they like to say, from taking all of our healthcare. It's a lie. That's why JD Vance went with this aspect of it. I want to break down all of them because it gets confusing.
Number one, if you're an American citizen, you've been to a hospital in the last few years, you probably noticed that wait times are especially large. And very often somebody who's there in the emergency room waiting is an illegal alien, very often a person who can't even speak English. Why do those people get healthcare benefits at hospitals paid for by American citizens? The answer is a decision made by the Biden administration that the Trump administration, working with congressional Republicans, undid. We turned off that money spigot to healthcare funding for illegal aliens. The Democrats, in their legislative text, want to turn it back on.
I feel like I'm like Maury Povich, and that was a lie. You are the father. We need a lie detector test or something. Or we could just do, a little bit of a background check. I'm sorry, a fact check. Sorry. Maybe there should be a background check on his lying ass. Federal law does require emergency rooms to provide care to undocumented immigrants for emergency conditions, but this care is not a comprehensive subsidy. The Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act of 1986, despite the fact that JD Vance just said, have you noticed that your lines are so long in the ER lately? It's because those undocumented. Of 1986 mandates that hospitals with Medicare agreements stabilize any patient with an emergency medical condition, regardless of their citizenship or ability to pay. In other words, don't let someone roll up in your ER, bleed out in front of other patients, and die on the floor. That's what that does. Key aspects of this. Emergency Medicaid. This is the primary funding source that pays hospitals for the cost of emergency care for undocumented immigrants. The payments are restricted to treating emergency conditions and do not cover routine or preventative services. Maybe this is what JD Vance is talking about. That emergency Medicaid, keep that in mind. I'm going to get to that. Costs are still absorbed by hospitals, though. So these hospitals have to deal in some of these costs. Medicaid reimbursement does not always cover the total cost, particularly if a hospital is in a state where funding is limited. Hospitals may shift some of these uncompensated costs onto other patients. Damn, I think they're onto something until you read more. There's a limited scope of the care, though. As he says, suddenly healthcare has been given to these undocumenteds. The care provided is only to stabilize a patient until their emergency condition is resolved, until the bleeding stops. They can create situations where an undocumented patient is treated for a life-threatening emergency, but has no coverage for necessary follow-up care. Small portion of overall spending. How about that emergency Medicaid that I just mentioned? Emergency Medicaid spending for undocumented immigrants and other non-citizens accounts for, listen, pay attention to this part, less than 1% of total Medicaid spending. I'll say it again. The spending for undocumented immigrants and other non-citizens accounts for less than 1% of Medicaid spending that they're complaining about has been blowing up Medicaid. You see how quick and easy it is to just lie? Then after you lie, you expect everyone to listen to and believe it. And then you actually have to go and read about what it is that they're lying about to dispel those lies. It's really easy to just constantly throw lies. It takes time to explain away the lies and then provide the truth, especially when first J.D. Vance says it, and then after J.D. Vance says it, Scott Jennings' ass says the same thing.
Can I say one thing, which is that people who are in the country illegally cannot get these
Correct.
subsidies
Sure
that we're
they can.
talking about?
Sure they can.
No, they can't.
No,
Sure
they
they
can't.
can.
It's
They-
federal law, Scott,
who
as
do you
know,
think?
but
Who do you
Scott,
think pays when they go to the emergency room? It's the Medicaid
Scott,
emergency
going
program.
to the emergency room is not getting an Obamacare subsidy. The
You
emergency
guys are
room is not
conflating. You
healthcare,
guys are
Scott.
conflating
No, we're
these
not,
issues.
Scott.
You're
You're
conflating these
and you're
issues.
being dishonest with
The
the American
subsidies are a
people about
separate
this,
issue. The
because you know
Medicaid
it's
program cuts
unpopular.
are a different thing.
Right, but I'm talking
Medicaid
about subsidies.
and the Obamacare stuff are two different issues. And I said
Correct.
the subsidies may get negotiated over time. But what Democrats want to do is roll back what the Republican Medicaid reforms were. They want, look, I don't understand why everybody's so mad. For time immemorial, Democrats have argued that it's good. It's good for illegal immigrants to get Medicaid. Every candidate for president in 2020 raised their hand for it. In the big, beautiful bill debate, they argued it was good policy. I can't believe there's an about
but
face in the
Scott,
Democratic Party on it today.
Hold on. I got a question for Karen, but Scott, I will say,
Sure.
people who are in the country illegally also can't get Medicaid.
Sure
That's
they can.
federal law.
Sure they
They
can.
can't get Medicaid.
They also
Medicare,
can't register to
CHIP,
vote. They also
Obamacare
can't register to
subsidies.
vote, but we just found one in Maryland who was running the Des Moines
one.
school system.
Oh my God, one.
I mean, I'm telling you, you guys say these things can't happen,
I'm
and
just
then they
saying,
happen.
Scott, I'm
Oh
just
my
saying
God,
it's federal
you're
law.
absurd.
And
You can
they're not
run
trying to
cover.
roll
You
back-
can run cover
they're not
for
trying
it if
to
you
roll
want,
back
but they
federal law.
do get federal
It's
tax
just the
money.
facts.
They get
Karen,
federal
can I ask
tax
you-
money. Ask Jake.
Yeah.
He had it on today.
I'm just saying it's against federal law to
Okay.
do
Yes,
that.
it is.
Good luck
Karen,
with it.
can I ask?
The lies roll so smoothly off of their tongues, just rolls right out. And as soon as he's cornered 3 times with his lies, he shifts to the next one. You guys are conflating. It's just yelling and talking as fast as possible once the lie has been exposed. That's how they operate. Okay, fine. We'll let me expose a little bit more about Scott Jennings and his lies about emergency room visits and how much undocumented folks use of our money. Before I get to that, thank you guys who have been taken off. Appreciate you. There's good stuff still. So come on back later and check out the back end of this. Scott Jennings wanted to claim that undocumented immigrants are taking all of these resources from us. ERs, can you believe it? They're actually getting money from these ACA subsidies. No, the fuck they're not. But they'll just keep saying it because, you know, it takes some extra time to look up the facts. Study says undocumented immigrants paid. Maybe that word needs to be emphasized more. Study says undocumented immigrants paid almost $100 billion in taxes. A new study shows that undocumented immigrants paid nearly that much in federal, state, and local tax revenue in 2022, while many are shut out of the programs that their taxes fund. The findings run counter to anti-immigrant rhetoric that undocumented immigrants are destroying social programs. Here's more. Here's more. It gets worse. Undocumented immigrants pay. Undocumented immigrants pay property taxes and sales taxes and federal payroll taxes taken from their wages, as well as income tax returns using individual taxpayer identification numbers. Despite those payroll taxes funding these things, Medicare, Social Security, and unemployment insurance, undocumented immigrants are not eligible to enroll in and receive regular benefits from these social programs. They pay into all of those systems that we are supposed to benefit from, which now currently this administration is taking from us as well, and they don't have access to getting the resources back. But Scott Jennings and J.D. Vance will tell you that they're making the wait rooms longer at ERs, which have been long since forever. They'll say that they're taking in money from these ACA subsidies, which they're not, but they're paying into it. All it takes, just is research, and everyone doesn't have the time to do it. That's why I sit in my computer and rack my brain and pull my hair out, watching these very easily debunked lies get believed by so many people. But as you believe it, you're the one that's going to suffer from it. When you think, oh, I'll believe everything that these liars say, and they think I'm going to have these other folks that they told me to think I'm better than. I'm going to make them suffer instead. But, you know, thieves always come back around to make sure that they take your money too. Here's one last aspect. I was considering maybe not going to this, but this guy really annoyed me too. This is still part of this government shutdown situation. The HUD department, they posted this. This is talking about the shutdown from a government agency. The radical left are going to shut down the government and inflict massive pain on the American people unless they get their $1.5 trillion wish list of demands. The Trump administration wants to keep the government open for the American people. This is apparently right before the shutdown then did happen. That's weird. It's this government agency is taking part in partisan discussions and trying to sway many American people and the public's view of whose fault it is, not while politicians go on TV to lie like the rest of these other guys did, but from a government agency website that's supposed to serve Americans, not Republicans, but Americans. So, you know, of course, some people respond to that and point out how illegal that is. So this is a quote from this article from Politico. The far left is barreling our country toward a shutdown, which will hurt all Americans. At HUD, we are working to keep critical services online and support our most vulnerable. Why is the media more focused on a banner than reporting on the impact of a shutdown on the American people? That's what a HUD spokesperson said when people were mad about that banner that they put up, asking why the media is concerned about a banner that's put up. It's because it breaks the law, HUD. HUD officials countered criticism raised by ethics experts that the message on the website violated the Hatch Act, which prohibits federal employees from engaging in political activity. The message targets an ideology rather than a specific party, politician, election, or anything political. The officials, who were granted anonymity to discuss this internal decision, said it referred to an official process playing out on Capitol Hill. It referred to it, and it made sure that they were talking about who it is that's at fault with all of these extra glowing, extra colorful terms like the radical left, the lunacy left. Can you believe these demands that they've got? A Democratic aide granted more anonymity to discuss this, said that the banner likely violates, again, this government-wide provision in U.S. spending laws, which mandates that no part of any funds appropriated may be used by an executive branch agency for publicity and propaganda in various types of published materials designed to support or defeat legislation pending before Congress, except in presentation to Congress itself. Are they presenting it to Congress? Or are they trying to sway people's opinion based off of the fact that they maybe don't know how this works, don't know how illegal that is for them to be doing it? But they definitely take on the form of their leader, their Führer, Donald Trump. And this is Scott Turner. He's the HUD secretary. He was asked about it. He's annoying.
I'm not used to seeing naked political propaganda on a government website. Are you worried about this violating the Hatch Act?
No, sir, we're not worried at all. And this is not about propaganda, Chris. This is just about letting the American people know what's going on. But we really need to be talking about how this government shutdown impacts the American people.
I want to do that, but this is part of the impact, right? I mean, when you're saying the radical left is shutting it down and they're doing it for $1.5 trillion for illegals, that's not true, Secretary Turner. That's why I'm bringing it up, because it's propaganda.
Well, you know what, though, Chris, you look at this, and I've heard all the cries and the outcry and people saying this is propaganda, that it's a violation of the Hatch Act. You know, to me, the Democrats and the far left are using this as a distraction to really deflect from what's really important here. And that's how it's been irresponsible actions on the Hill, and American people are being impacted greatly by this government shutdown. That's what we really need to be talking about.
I agree. What percentage do you think of people that you serve are on Medicaid?
You know, Chris, I can get back to you with that number.
No, it's not a gotcha. It's not a gotcha, but is it a significant proportion? Is it a significant portion, or is it the minority?
You know, I'm not sure. I want to give you a right answer.
I
I
got
don't
you.
want to just throw anything out there because that's not how I operate, but I'll get that back to you.
No, Scott, that's exactly how you operate. By putting out anything, not anything, just what Donald Trump told you to do as he tugs your chain. I'm done. Thank you guys for hanging on. I really wanted to get to all the aspects of how they're pulling this off. And honestly, I don't think many people are really buying it. I got to be honest. Maybe I'm in a bubble. I don't think the majority of people are buying it. The level of disdain that this administration is showing towards all of Americans is crazy. And maybe a few people are starting to catch on. But as I said, they don't care anymore. They've got the guns in your face. Hope you guys enjoy your Thursday after all that. Yeah, it takes all that to really show exactly what is it's happening. Thank you guys for being here again. Go tell John we went over again and say hi for me from the watch party over here. But again, if you guys took off, if you're about to now, don't forget the full stories are gonna be up on the page later. Make sure you guys check those out as you're on your way out the door. Like this stream, like those videos when you check them out, share them as well. Helps us out. We'll see you guys on a Friday. Get your beverages ready. We might need it. See you, man.